It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
When it comes to buying your first home, everyone has questions.
Can we even afford to buy a house right now? Well, I need to negotiate. How do I even negotiate?
Luckily, a RE/MAX agent has answers.
Hey, Brian, those are really good questions.
They are? Thanks. It's my first time buying.
I work with first-time buyers all the time. I got you.
RE/MAX agents have more experience than other real estate agents. Visit RE/MAX.com or download the RE/MAX app to find the right agent. The right agent can lead the way. Each office independently owned and operated.
We all have that friend who wakes up early to go get everyone McDonald's breakfast, while the rest of us sleep in. This is your sign to thank them. And if you're that friend, this is us saying thank you.
Just a friendly reminder that right now, get any size iced coffee before 11 a.m. for just 99 cents. And a satisfying sausage McMuffin with egg is just $2.79. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Whether you're a morning person or a bedtime procrastinator, everyone deserves a mattress that works for their style. And you'll find the best mattress for you at Ashley. The new Temper-Adapt collection at Ashley brings you one-of-a-kind body-conforming technology, making every sleep tailored to be your best. The collection also features cool-to-the-touch covers and motion absorption to help minimize sleep disruptions from partners, pets, or kids. Shop the all-new Temper-Adapt collection at Ashley, in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
We're shifting our focus back into the fantasy realm to make sure you're prepared for next season's draft by taking a look at some of the underperforming playoff pieces that have hurt their draft stock on today's episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The second round of the NHL postseason pushes on, but so does the fantasy breakdowns on your daily source for fantasy hockey news. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Steele and Flip. And ooh, baby, shout out to all the everydayers holding us down, supporting the show, making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets. With any winning $5 bet, that's 150 bones with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. My friend, Mr. Roden, you and I have to come onto this show and hit a lot of takes, cover a lot of things, and we've been really doing a good job, I think, of covering the second round. We're going to continue to do it round by round until that cup is lifted, but we're also going to continue to sprinkle in this fantasy focus. And that's what we're doing on today's episode, because you and I have seen this before. Postseason performances, both good and bad, develop and change what a player might be drafted at next draft season, for the good and for the better. Are they still valuable pieces? Yes, but these performances are going to affect where you want to be drafting them, and that's what we'll talk about on today's episode. Still, not exactly a top 5 ranked list, but these players that you and I are talking about have definitely underperformed, and I would say all have impacted their draft stock for next season. And of course, we got Thursday's big time betting breakdown ready to ride. You're on mute, brother.
Mute button gets me again. It always gets me. It's going to happen at least once a week. But, hey, we can even look back to last postseason to see some of the good that we saw in fantasy value, just looking at the Dallas Stars and Rupe Hintz and Wyatt Johnston. Ooh. So that's something, again, this is a great angle to look at, watching the playoffs for the next month, and then trying to remember this going into the draft next season. So, yeah, I think I would be reprimanded if I didn't mention this player. I think I'd be absolutely scolded online if I did not mention this player. I don't necessarily maybe agree with it, but I have to mention Alexander Ovechkin for being what he is right now, a 38-year-old captain of the Washington Capitals who did absolutely nothing in the postseason so far. Postseason, he's been eliminated. He's gone. Swept in 4 by the New York Rangers with 0 points, 0 shots on net, I believe. Maybe 1 shot on net.
I got it up right here, Steele, because I have this exact same player on my list.
You have to have him on the list. So Alexander Ovechkin,
5 shots on net all series long.
Okay, 5. Sorry, it was the first game he had 0 shots.
And last game he had no shots on net as well. Games 1 and 4.
Wow, yeah. So Alexander Ovechkin, 5 shots in 4 games, 0 points, a -2. And this is, you have to bring him up for that reason. But, again, with a little bit of a caveat, you look at the regular season, he still finished with 65 points. In the second half of the season, after the All-Star break, this guy popped off for 20-plus goals and 20-plus assists, it seemed, or 15-plus assists, and finished with 65 points. He still has it, in my opinion. He's still a valuable fantasy asset.
It's an interesting conversation, for sure.
Especially in a categorical league where you know he's going to continue to put shots on net. He's going to get, 13 power play goals is still really, really good for this player. 28 power play points is still very good. That was actually better than last season, where he had 25 power play points. So he's going to get his shots. He's going to get his power play points. He's still a physical guy. He still lays the body out when he's on the ice. He blocks, he hits, he does everything you need. But the regression for Alexander Ovechkin is starting to show. Can he continue to do what he does best and score goals for this Washington team that struggled to score goals all season long? I believe their goal scorer leader was Dylan Strome, and point leader was Dylan Strome. That, to me, is not very good enough. It speaks volumes to where they're at right now as an organization. They squeaked into a playoff spot. So Alexander Ovechkin has to get mentioned. But if you don't remember, or if you forgot, I actually traded for Alexander Ovechkin in my keeper league. And I'm going to keep him because I think he has a ton of value moving forward. I think, it was a little bit of a weird year for him, but we saw what he could still do in the second half of the season.
I think I agree with about 80% of that. My concern is that, and you alluded to the point, is the Washington lineup that's insulating around him.
Yeah.
If he was in any other situation, I would think that maybe last season's first half was a bit more of a blip on the fantasy radar, because I actually think your point about the categorical peripheral value, I think will still hold true, because even in those 4 games, he was still throwing his weight around 12 hits. But in game 4, in an elimination game, and I understand that team was severely outgunned, outmatched at every single position and at every single situation on the ice. It's when you look at his first half steal, I guess I just know if you're an older player, you got to almost rely on those younger guys around you a little bit more. Is he still going to break Wayne Gretzky's record? For sure. Next season, am I going to agree with you for the most part about categorical leagues? Most definitely, but it's just a very interesting conversation. But I think the main point remains, I know Alex Ovechkin was still going in the second and third rounds last year. I don't think he should be that high. I'm looking at him, if you are going to be taking him, in my opinion, I'm saying 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds, meaning that his poor performance hurt his draft stock. And I know that's a bit of a combination of regular season and postseason, because, look, there was no hope for those Washington Capitals against the New York Rangers in the first round. So I don't want to put too much value into what we saw in 4 games just because they were completely... Look, Ovi's not going to play the Rangers all season long in 82 games, right? He's going to get to beat up on the Columbus Blue Jackets and, the Philadelphia Flyers of the world, just like he does every single season. So maybe there's some more value there. I got a player steal, though, that only played 1 game in the postseason, and I think that performance by Linus Ullmark, which wasn't bad, it wasn't great. It's more so what Jeremy Swayman is doing for himself. Has Linus Ullmark proven that he can be a good NHL goaltender, a great one? He has a Vezina. We know this. This isn't me trying to say he's not valuable. But when you look at if they keep both of them next year, Jeremy Swayman is an RFA steal. They're going to throw some money at him. So I don't know. Maybe they look to move Linus Ullmark. Maybe he clearly remains number 2. He had a shot in there. He allowed 3 goals. He wasn't the reason they lost, but he didn't steal the game for them. So I know this one maybe is a bit of a cop-out, but the point remains his draft stock is going down because mostly of how good Jeremy Swayman has been. But I don't think you should be drafting Linus Ullmark as high as you would have last year, just based on the fact that if he gets traded to a worse team or he eats less games, that's not rocket science, Steele. His value goes down.
If he remains with the Boston Bruins and they get out of this road, this plan and this mentality of rotating every single game, his value goes down, or his value sort of remains the same for me if they continue to. If they get out of it and they give it to Jeremy Swayman, you're the number one guy, but they keep Linus Ullmark, his value goes completely down off a cliff. And then
especially because we don't know what the future holds for this Boston Bruins team, right? A lot of people were expecting a regression this regular season. We were wrong there, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I will say if he is traded, I think his value actually might go up a little bit because he'll be that number one goaltender who won't be getting the 50-50 split. But if he remains in Boston, and I really do think Jeremy Swayman should be the number one guy and get at least 60-65% of the starts.
Yeah, me too.
His value will go down. I've got four more players, a couple of defensemen that I think you might be shocked at that I bring into the conversation, but we'll get to all of that after the break and finish up with big time bets at the end of the episode.
Yes, sir. And you know that today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Indeed. There is no I in team, but you know there's one in Indeed. Shout out to MJ. That's the hiring platform you need to build yours. When you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you attract, interview, and hire all in one place. They streamline the hiring process with powerful tools that helps you find matched candidates right away. Indeed is the tool that you need to hire, attract, and get the best candidate for your job. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. Offer is only good for a limited time. Go out there and claim your $75 job credit right now at Indeed.com/lockedon. That's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. You need to hire. You know you need Indeed.
What's up, guys? Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils here, and let me tell you about Discover Credit Customer Service. Looking for an assist with your credit card but can't get a hold of anyone? Luckily, with 24/7 US-based live customer service from Discover, everyone has the option to talk to a real person anytime, day or night. Yep, you heard that right. You can talk to a real human in customer service anytime. Sounds like a real game changer if you ask me. Make the right call and get the service you deserve with Discover. Limitations apply. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Are you still watching on Fox Sports or ESPN, though? You have to turn down the volume with all that shouting. Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. You can't miss analysis, opinions, news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube, or you can also find it on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Continue to hit the subscribe, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us Monday through Friday. We're in playoff season right now. We're breaking down some not so great playoff performers right now, and whose fantasy value could really decline going into next year's fantasy draft.
Yep.
I've got a player who I think we both really like. Career high in points with his new team this year. But I gotta mention it because he has been a ghost, like a lot of players on his team. It's Philip Hronek of the Vancouver Canucks.
Interesting.
It could possibly go down by what we're seeing right now, but this is a player that we talked a lot throughout the entire season. He had a career high 48 points with his new team, the Vancouver Canucks, in 81 games, 43 assists, 5 goals. He was a career best by a mile, plus 33, 38 penalty minutes. He doesn't shoot the puck a ton. He only had 148 shots on net, but he does all the other things right. He gets blocks, he gets hits, he does that peripheral stuff, And again, the points are now showing with this 26, 27-year-old who's just getting into his prime, and he's got an absolute howitzer. What I don't understand is how in 6 games do you only have 4 shots? Again, when you have that slap shot in your arsenal, the howitzer that we've seen him do, I believe he had the hardest shot this season at like 105 miles per hour or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're only shooting the puck 4 times. I know in that first round series against Nashville, it was tough to get the puck on net. The defense on both sides was really, really good, but you got to do a better job of that. 6 games played in the postseason. He has 0 points so far. I believe he is also a -2 as well. So been fairly disappointed with a lot of Vancouver players, Elias Pettersson being one, Philip Hronek being another. He has not done anything. He literally has 0 points. And Nikita Zadorov has probably been their second best defenseman in Vancouver, right there behind Quinn Hughes, who has 9 shots on net. He's doing everything defensively. He's jumping up in the rush. He's getting shots on net. He has 9 shots on net, actually. So fairly disappointed with Hronek so far in the postseason.
I think this is also one of those cases, Steele, that based off of headed into the fantasy draft season, we're not looking at this as maybe a draft stock fall. This is based off of how good he was during the regular season and where maybe he would have been taken. This is exactly the angle we're talking about. Sometimes players get jacked up in value because, look, this is the last bit of hockey that you're going to remember for the next 3 months. And the same on bad performances. You look at Hronek and you go, oh, damn, he did nothing in the playoffs. I might leave him to a later round. This is exactly what Steele and I are trying to highlight, because some might be true and some might not be true. And when you look at Hronek, though, 104 hits this season, 87 block shots, and then you factor in these 2 points, 48 of them, and that he plays with Quinn Hughes. So I would say this is one of those players that if you see nothing from him the rest of the playoffs, continuing this theme, it's a bit concerning. But I don't know if I am like scared off of him, because he will probably get to play with Quinn Hughes once again. And when I look at my next guy, though, and if you're okay, I'll head there, because I'm with you on this Hronek take. I was high on him headed into last draft season. You got to be all over it. It's never too early to look ahead. It's never too early to dig into the numbers, see what teams are doing. Hey, the San Jose Sharks are going to get Macklin Celebrini. These are the things that you need to start paying attention to, because all of a sudden, Steele, August is going to be here, and you and I will be doing mock draft season, baby. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, drop us a 5-star review, because it means a lot to us, and it helps us get better for your draft season. Ilya Sorokin, Steele, is another player that I've talked about a lot. And look, is he still an elite level goaltender? In my opinion, yes, he is. But you know me and goaltenders, when you have Jeremy Swayman playing like he did, you saw a little blip from Andrei Vasilevsky. That top 6 goalie board is starting to shuffle around a little bit. And I'm looking at Sorokin like this. I didn't like how he was deployed by Patrick Waugh. That was number one. Is that his fault? No, but he was bad in the regular season by his standards as well. And he was one of the first goalies off the board. So I would say buyer beware for this main point. I don't know the contract situation for Varlamov. I know that they just committed to Sorokin. But with Patrick Waugh's tendency to go to him in the postseason when it counted the most, I'm a little bit concerned about his deployment next year. If Patrick Waugh is so comfortable putting all that money on the bench, I still think Sorokin's a number one. I still think he has what it takes to do all those elite level fantasy things. Patrick Waugh don't give a dang about any of that, Steele. And if he's feeling another goaltender, whether they bring someone in or it's Varley again, I just have to look at what he did in this postseason, Sorokin, in his limited opportunity. He got pumped 3 goals and 14 shots. I don't think that's indicative of what he can do. I'm just worried about how he's going to be deployed because of that poor performance.
I'll piggyback off of that as well. I think Ilya Sorokin definitely didn't live up to his standards. I don't think the organization, he lived up to the organization standards after obviously getting that massive contract and being that long-term goalie that he's going to be for the New York Islanders. So yeah, I agree with him. He's still going to be a third, top 3rd round pick, he's still going to be one of those goalies off the board. But I think, like we've talked about, drafting goalies in the first couple of rounds is a little bit scary to do, and sometimes it doesn't work out properly, and that seemed to be the case with me this year. I drafted a little bit later, I've drafted a little bit earlier. Wasn't the case for me, but I think Ilya Sorokin's a good name to bring up right now, so I'll piggyback off of you with that one. Another defenseman that I want to talk about that I absolutely love. I love drafting this player. I love drafting a few players from this team. I know they're probably one of the most hated teams in the NHL right now, but got to bring up Shea Theodore for the same vein, for the same reason. It's my boy, but I got to bring him up because of the same exact reason. For the same exact reason that I talked about with Philip Hronek. Shea Theodore, 7 games, 0 points. He was even plus minus 14 shots on net, playing over 22 minutes of ice time. this was a player I was very disappointed in. I thought he was going to be a huge X factor behind William Karlsson to be that guy to take them over and take them to the next round against the Dallas Stars, or face the Colorado Avalanche in the second round. That was not the case. They got their top defenseman scoring from Braden McNabb, 2 goals, 3 assists. Noah Hannafin, the newly acquired defenseman, also had 4 points or 5 points in that series.
2 goals, 3 assists for him as well.
Yeah, so 5 points from those 2 defensemen, but it's hard to say who the best defenseman is when they have so many good defensemen. But Pietrangelo only had 1 point. Shea Theodore only had 0. He had 0 points. It's not good enough from the blue line, in my opinion, even though McNabb and Hannafin had 5 points each. When your 2 best defensemen, arguably your 2 best defensemen, Pietrangelo and Shea Theodore, combined for 1 point in 7 games or 14 games combined, it's not a recipe for success. It's not a game plan that you can go moving forward to against the Colorado Avalanche and expect to win. So that's one thing. The second thing that I'm very concerned about with Shea Theodore is this is back-to-back seasons with playing almost 50%, just over 50%. He played 47 games this last year and 55 games the year before that. There seems to be an injury problem starting to develop with this player, which scares me a lot. And I've alluded to not drafting players so high because of their injury-prone concerns. So that's starting to be a factor for me. I still absolutely love this player. I'm still going to try to draft him when I can. I'm just going to maybe wait and see where he starts to fall to a little bit, do a little bit more research on Shea Theodore, his injuries, and where he's been going ADP wise. But that's another concern for me.
I think that's also an important thing to bring up here, Steele, is when you look at these performances and you think about fantasy value for next season, I don't think this means like they're undraftable. All of these players I think we're looking at are still very
draftable.
Very much
they
draftable.
Fall down a couple rounds.
You just really don't want to, just because they had a good season last year. And also, let me just bring up quickly before I ramble on too much. Shea Theodore had 19 points a couple of years ago in the postseason. 10 points 2 seasons ago, and last season 13 points. And I know obviously they played a lot more games than the 7 they got this year, but he just was not the same player. He also had 40 plus points in the regular season. I like that you're digging into almost a deeper, 3rd or 4th echelon tier, some later round guys. I'm talking about some guys a little bit higher up, which we will continue right around the break, along with, of course, our big time bets.
Big time bets right around the break, and where you can make those bets is FanDuel. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and anything you want. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
We all have that friend who wakes up early to go get everyone McDonald's breakfast, while the rest of us sleep in. This is your sign to thank them. And if you're that friend, this is us saying thank you.
Just a friendly reminder that right now, get any size iced coffee before 11 a.m. for just 99 cents. And a satisfying sausage McMuffin with egg is just $2.79. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. Flip and I appreciate all that love and support you show us Monday through Friday. Flip, I've got 1 player left. I know you got 1 or 2 players left. I'll throw it back over to you.
Yeah, I got
and then
2
we'll wrap
players.
this episode up with big time bets.
Yeah, and I think the last one in Elias Pettersson is quite clear. We have talked about that one already. I don't even think we need to go back down that well. So let me just spit out. He is definitely hurting his draft stock. I understand he was sick the other night. He's dealing with some off-ice issues. To me, when you put up the seasons that, and I know actually, Steele, this has been a player you and I have talked a lot about in terms of what do we think he can actually do. 102 points and then 89 points this season. And I'm not going to take away. This guy is still a very, very valuable fantasy piece and an elite talent. It's just when you see him follow up that regular season performance with this one is definitely still right up there as the most disappointing fantasy performance this postseason. Talk whatever you want about Mitch and whoever else. Elias Pettersson's team is lucky to be in this situation. He has 3 assists and 8 shots on net. He's supposed to be their number 1 offensive guy along with Quinn Hughes. And I really think this Vancouver Canucks team is going to need to tighten it up in a hurry, or else this Edmonton Oilers group is going to roll through them. You can agree on that. Rupe Hintz has 1 goal steal. The Dallas Stars just got outgunned by blowing a 3-goal lead. And if he's going to continue to put up zeros, 0, 0, 0, 0, except for that 1 goal, I'm worried about these Dallas Stars steal that I've come on here and talked a very long amount about. 72 points for Rupe Hintz, 75 points and 65 this year. A little bit of a down year. Those were his regular season point totals.
Yeah.
Rupe Hintz has also been a bit of a polarizing fantasy piece steal because he goes on prolonged stretches of cold streaks and then he blows the doors off of things like he did last postseason in very special fashion. And am I going to write him off? No, we're only in game 2 of the second round and he has a chance to respond. But right now, Steele, what has he got here? Oh my goodness me. He is not a 1 goal through the first chunk of games is not going to get it done. And I'm trying to bring up the shot total. He has 10 shots in 8 games. Also not good enough. So for me, Rupe Hintz, given that he's coming off a 65-point regular season where his draft stock was already dropping, it's definitely dropping even more with only 1 goal through 8 games.
Yeah, that's very concerning for the Dallas Stars. It's very concerning for Rupe Hintz draft value going into next season. But we know this team even this year. Jason Robertson fell off in the point category, even though they were the top team in the Central Division. So seems to be not just a Rupe Hintz problem, but a whole Dallas Stars team problem. Very strong team, but if they're dropping point-wise, it hurts their fantasy value. My last player, I'll make it really quick. It's Tyler Toffoli of the Winnipeg Jets.
It's a good one.
This guy has been on 6 teams in the last 5 years. LA Kings, Montreal Canadiens, Vancouver Canucks, Calgary Flames, New Jersey Devils, and now the Winnipeg Jets. That's 6 teams in the last 5 years. Outlier year being with the Calgary, his last year with the Calgary Flames, 73 points in 82 games. Other than that, he's been a perennial 45 to 53, 55-point player per season, which is still great. But this seems to be a underlining concern with this player being moved over the last couple of years.
I agree.
Continually being traded. Is he going to get comfortable? Is he going to get the chemistry going? Obviously, that 1 year in Calgary was 73 points. He played absolutely phenomenal, and he got a lot of draft stock or trade value from the New Jersey Devils and the Calgary Flames when they made that trade. But moving forward, he's still a very draftable player, but there's a lot to be concerned with again, that outlier season with 73 points. Again, just he fell back down this year between the New Jersey Devils and Winnipeg Jets, 55 points total, which is still a great year, but it's not 73. It's 20 points less. So
yes, it's a good one.
Tyler Toffoli needs to be mentioned as well. Still a draftable player. Still think he holds a ton of value in categorical leagues, but it's definitely a name to watch out for moving forward in next year's fantasy draft. Those are the 5 players from each of us that we believe you need to keep an eye on moving into next year's fantasy draft. So thank you so much. We're going to get over to big time bets right now where the money is made. Absolutely feeling it. I had a big night the other day. Flip, if you don't mind, I would like to kick it off.
Please.
With my first pick of the night.
Please.
Thursday. It's going back to Carolina. It's going back to Carolina. Carolina gave me a quick heart attack, quick scare the other day in game 2, but Rangers pulled it out. But the Hurricanes are getting their own. Jake Gensel's looked great. Dmitry Orlov is getting into it offensively as well. Seth Jarvis, your boy. Andrei Svechnikov getting a little dirty, trying to take Igor Shesterkin's legs out from underneath them.
Oh.
Anyways, back to Carolina. That's my first pick. Hurricanes on the money line at home. They're going to get at least 2, I said. They're going to get their first in game 3 back at home. So that's my first pick, Hurricanes money line. Second pick comes from the same games, or second and third come from the same game. I'm going back to what I did in game 1. Avalanche Stars over 5.5. It might not be as high scoring as that first round series between the Jets and Avalanche, but it's still going to be going over 5.5 in my opinion. Avalanche Stars, there's too much star power on the Av side. And if that star power on the Stars side can get going, over 5.5 for me. And my lock of the night, Valerian Nichushkin, anytime goal. He gets another one in game 1. He's been absolutely firing on all cylinders. 8 goals now in the playoffs He's killing it. That's my lock of the night.
I'm going to just have to agree and slightly disagree with your take on Colorado Dallas, only because we can each win our bet, because I have this bad boy at under 6.5. The only angle I'm looking at that I disagree with you on, and it's not because your points are bad in any stretch of the imagination, I just think this Dallas Stars team needs to return to how they were winning games when they were really flexing their muscle and tighten up defensively. Does that mean they're going to stop the Colorado Avalanche from scoring 3 or 4? Absolutely not. And we know the Georgiev struggles on the other side. So you're playing into all of the proper storylines. I'm just going to go with under 6.5. I think Jake Ottinger needs to respond. And maybe I'm a little bit biased here, Steele, because I know I need Dallas to win this series for a number of different bets. And maybe that's why I'm going with they need to play back into that style of game to get this series in their favor. However, I'm just going to spit it out. Maybe this bad boy finishes at 4-2 again, and we can both make a little bit of money. So under 6.5 at -118. And my last 2 picks in lock of the night come from the Rangers and Carolina. I'm going right back to the over, though. Rangers and Carolina, I wasn't expecting this one to be high scoring, but it looks like it's going to be a run and gun type affair. And maybe we should have expected it after Carolina loaded up at the deadline with offensive pieces to really change that part of their game. They were a snoozy, defensive first, snuff out the shots kind of team and hope that the goaltender steals them a game or two. Now they're trying to run and gun with the best of them. So let's go over. It's also at 5.5. So I'll take 5.5 -110. Lock of the night. Talked about this guy quite a bit. No, it's not Sidney Crosby. He's not in this, or else I'd probably Vincent Trocheck. Anytime assist. Lock of the night. I wanted to go anytime point, but there is no value there considering he has a point or 2 in every single game already. He also has an apple in every single game except 1. So hit me with the Vincent Trocheck anytime point. He was also the double OT goal scoring winner for this Rangers team, Steele. If guys keep clicking like that, and it's not even Zibanejad and Panarin, this Rangers team is going to be very, very hard to bounce, and that's going to be good for your futures bets.
Yes, it will be indeed. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Those are the locks of the night. Vincent Trocheck, anytime assist. Valerian Nichushkin, anytime goal for Thursday night. Once again, make sure you go check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. You can also find it on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with your bets out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.
I live by routines, especially my same-day delivery routine with Shipt. Because when Sunday rolls around, I'm not scared. I got my shopper on the way with all my favorites. Shipt, delight in every delivery. Learn more at shipt.com.
We all have that friend who wakes up early to go get everyone McDonald's breakfast, while the rest of us sleep in. This is your sign to thank them. And if you're that friend, this is us saying thank you.
Just a friendly reminder that right now, get any size iced coffee before 11 a.m. for just 99 cents. And a satisfying sausage McMuffin with egg is just $2.79. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
The living room is where you make life's most beautiful memories. But your sofa shouldn't be the one remembering them. The new life-resistant, high-performance furniture collection from Ashley is designed to withstand all the spills, slip-ups, and muddy paws that come with the best parts of life. Ashley high-performance sofas and recliners are soft, on-trend, and easy to clean. Shop the high-performance furniture in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.